homily on the homily as we go through it. Something strange is happening. There is a great silence on earth today, a great silence and stillness. The whole earth keeps silence because the King is asleep. You should remember that Holy Saturday is the Sabbath day, as Jesus would have known it, and the Sabbath of the Jewish people, the day of rest, a day of silence and stillness, where everything is focused upon the presence of God and our relationship with God. The whole earth keeps silence because the King is asleep. The earth trembled and is still because God has fallen asleep in the flesh. In other words, what happens in Jesus is how God is revealing himself through this person, through this human experience. And he's raised up all who have slept ever since the world began. So in this silence, we are told that the one who seems to us asleep is in fact awake and active, deep in the center of the earth as they would have seen it, imagined it. For us, perhaps we see it in terms of a collective unconscious, or the ancient history, or the DNA of the human race, or this particular branch of the humanoid anyway. That Jesus has gone down deep into the underworld, and what he does there is to awaken, is to bring light, to bring consciousness to what was previously a source of fear or isolation. God has died in the flesh, and hell trembles with fear. When those dark parts of ourselves are touched, awake, there is often a trembling, there is often fear. We're frightened of ourselves more often than we are frightened of others. If we're frightened of the dark as children, it's because we are frightened of the unknown and frightened of our own dark places. He has gone to search for our first parent as for a lost sheep. Greatly desiring to visit those who live in darkness and in the shadow of death, he has gone to free from sorrow the captives Adam and Eve, he who is both God and the son of Eve. Here in these few words there is the full theology of Christ as the incarnation of the Word, and of the one who feels a sympathy and empathy and compassion for the sorrow of the human race, and who wishes to set us free from that sorrow. The Lord approached them here in this underworld, bearing the cross, the weapon that had won him the victory. We forget perhaps what a symbol of shame and failure and degradation the cross was at that time. So it's a striking image that he should have transformed the cross on which he died into the weapon that sets free the human race from its ancestral sorrow. At the sight of him, Adam, the first man he had created, struck his breast in terror and cried out to everyone, "My Lord be with you all." Christ answered him, "And with your spirit." So often our first reaction to what is setting us free from the dark forces and the sorrows of our lives is fear. We're frightened of change. We're frightened to be set free. We don't know what life will be like if we were really let out of this prison of our fears. And Christ answered him, and with your spirit, he took him by the hand. Gesture of tenderness, contact. Jesus contacts and touches people throughout his life. He takes him by the hand and raises him up, saying, "Awake, O sleeper, and rise from the dead, and Christ will give you light." This seems to have been one of the hymns of the early church, because we see it also in, I think, the letter to the Ephesians. "I am your God, who for your sake have become your son." Here's the paradox of Christ. Out of love for you and for your descendants, it's an inclusive love, I now, by my own authority, command all who are held in bondage to come forth, all who are in darkness to be enlightened, all who are sleeping to arise. So Easter speaks to that part of us which is still in darkness, in bondage, that is still asleep. I order you, O sleeper, to awake. This is the voice of authority. It's not just an option. This is actually the summons of one in authority. Wake up and get over it and get up. I did not create you to be held a prisoner in hell. You don't belong here. Rise from the dead, for I am the life of the dead. So there is no more death if he is the life of those who have died. Rise up, work of my hands, you who were created in my image. In the Christian understanding of creation, everything that came to be comes into existence, created by God, but through the Word, through the Son. This is the tool, this is the template by which creation has shape and form and predictability. It's why we can analyze the universe and see patterns in everything, because there is this fundamental, essential unity of a source, and that source is the Word of God. Rise, let us leave this place, for you are in me, and I am in you. Together we form one single person, and we cannot be separated. So here is the heart of the Christian message for Easter. It's the authority of the risen Christ speaking to us from within the unity, the union. We were speaking about the movement from duality to union during the week. Well, here is the affirmation of fundamental, essential union, oneness. That we are one person with him, and we are inseparable from him. For your sake, I, your God, became your son. I, the Lord, took the form of a slave. I, whose home is above the heavens, descended to the earth and beneath the earth. For your sake, for the sake of humanity, I became like a man without help, free among the dead. For the sake of you who left a garden, I was betrayed in a garden, and I was crucified in a garden. We hear this affirmation within within the framework of the story that we've been following. And in that story there are powerful symbols that echo each other, that evoke each other, evoke memories of other passages. If we know the scriptures, of course, this story is even richer. The Garden of Eden, the Garden of Gethsemane, the garden, or the place of the crucifixion. See on my face the spittle I received in order to restore to you the life I once breathed into you. So we move in this image from the degradation of Jesus, which he accepts in order to enter into and embrace the sorrow of humanity, in order to restore, to heal that primal flaw, and to restore the wholeness that we are created for, that we're meant for. That is our meaning. See there the marks of the blows I received in order to refashion your warped nature in my image. So there's a healing, putting straight, putting right, and the signs of his passion have now become signs of meaning, not signs of failure, degradation, hopelessness, meaninglessness, but they become transformed into the glorious wounds on his body, of the signs of the work that he was doing. On my back see the marks of the scourging I endured to remove the burden of sin that weighs on your back. See my hands nailed firmly to a tree, for you who once wickedly stretched out your hand to a tree. I slept on the cross, and a sword pierced my side, for you who slept in paradise and brought forth Eve from your side. My side has healed the pain in yours. By his wounds we are made whole. This is what we were talking about yesterday, the eradication of the karma that we carry, not only in our own personal lives, we're all well aware of that, but the same karma that we drag along with us from one generation to the next. We see the enmities, the violence, the wars, the racial prejudice and hatred, all of this karma that's somehow passed on from one generation to the next. This has been there, from the earliest part of our story. My side has healed the pain in yours. My sleep will rouse you from your sleep in hell. The sword that pierced me has sheathed the sword that was turned against you. So, clear image of the end of violence, the violence which has been generated by the sorrow of that primal wound, that primal flaw within us and within our relationships, that has been neutralized. The source of violence, the first sin was violence, that has been neutralized by his work. Rise, let us leave this place. So, this is the essential meaning of the resurrection, that we just get up and move to a new place in our lives. The enemy led you out of the earthly paradise. I will not restore you to that paradise. So we're not going back to the cozy comforts of the Garden of Eden or our childhood. That's over and finished. We've moved on from that. We've grown up. But I will enthrone you in heaven. So where we're going is a better place than the one we came from, the one we lost. I forbade you the tree that was only a symbol of life. Do not eat of the fruit of this tree. But see, I who am life itself, the Word through whom everything came into existence, I am now one with you. So now we're no longer seen as children, being told what to do and what not to do for our own good. We're now grown up. We're grown up because he has united himself with us, we who came into existence through his template, through his form. We are in his image. Now the image and the likeness are becoming one. This is the transformation of human consciousness. This is an evolutionary leap. I appointed cherubim to guard you as slaves are guarded. You were once just needed people to keep an eye on you. But now I make them worship you as God. So you've really grown up. The throne formed by cherubim awaits you. Its bearers swift and eager. So what is now happening is this divinization that we've been speaking about throughout the week. This is the whole meaning of the resurrection. Not just one individual who happened to somehow get back to life through some portal, but what is the meaning of this is that each one of us is made aware of our infinite potential. If you read John Main, his teaching on meditation as a Christian journey, this is what he comes back to frequently, is the awareness of our infinite potential and the challenge to us to let go of our narrow and limited understanding of who we are and to allow ourselves to be fully aware of our potential for divinization. The bridal chamber is adorned. The banquet is ready. All these images, biblical images of wedding, of union, of conjugal love, of wonderful banquets. Symbols of the fullness of life. That's what the resurrection is about. It's not pointing us towards what's going to happen to us in the next life. It is sending us back to live this life in a new way. The bridal chamber is adorned, the banquet is ready, the eternal dwelling places are prepared. So we are expected. We won't arrive early. They're waiting for us. The treasure houses of all good things lie open. This is total inclusivity. The kingdom of heaven has been prepared for you from all eternity. So let's prepare for meditation now.